do you become so aware of everything around so you can showcase the
Hmm.
community, and don't just sell the house. You can showcase the community and sell people on the area. I sold
Yeah.
somewhere in an area where a person didn't know anything about it. They just knew they wanted to move away from where they were, and they were trying to decide between two places.
You're listening to Real Estate Coffee Talk. I'm your host, Sarah Hilton, and this is your weekly live coffee date with the who's who from every corner of the real estate industry. Anyway, we are actually live. So, John, welcome to Real Estate Coffee Talk. Did you bring, do you
I
have
brought
coffee?
myself water.
Oh,
I just literally finished my
you
coffee,
know,
and
I
yeah,
know. Here, I'm cheating because it's 12 o'clock here. I've already had two this morning. So there's about 2 sips left in here. But we got a vibe going on. We got a vibe. Okay.
yeah, exactly.
I'm I'm super excited to have you on. I can tell we're gonna have a lot of fun. So welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you have a really cool journey. So tell us a little bit about yourself first, and then let's kind of get into your whole spiel because I think it's gonna be fascinating.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like I am a serial entrepreneur. I mean, I'm one of those guys that just can't sit still. I mean, I've got
Right.
three things on the go right now. I mean, I have my
Yeah.
real estate license, my mortgage license, as well as I have my coaching and personal
Yeah.
development business, which is kind of the same thing, right? I focus on
Right.
helping people build strategies and build their business and stuff like that, as well as focus on helping getting their personal brand out through podcasting and stuff. So, I
Yeah.
mean, so I have those three things going. My main focus, believe it or not, is the coaching and the mortgages. The real estate thing is sort of, I've had it for so long, and I've got myself,
Yeah.
I have such a brand that all I
Yeah.
have to do at this point in time is maintain, so I don't
Yeah.
have to go as strong to keep busy. So I
Exactly.
still do a great number of sales each year, and I'm still the so-called award winner, which, I mean, it's
Yeah.
gotten to the point that I don't know if anybody's not an award winner these days, but
Right. Right.
but aside from
That's
that,
how
so
that's how the culture is. Just everyone gets a trophy now, and you know how it goes. Okay, so serial entrepreneur. So like when you were, I'm fascinated in this on a personal level. My son's about to leave to college. He's majoring in entrepreneurship, which I think is probably like a newer degree program, right? Um, but like, did you always, as you were growing up, did you always want to just own your own thing? And what was your first business? Like, where'd you start?
ironically, I never had any intention of owning anything. I was actually like, I didn't even know what I was going to do. All I know is I
Right.
wanted to be on the radio, and I didn't care how I got there. So
Yeah.
I had this
Right.
idea that I did a co-op at a station in Toronto, and it was called Z103.5, right? So it's obviously 103.5 on the FM dial. And I
Right.
did a co-op there, and then they kept me a little bit after the co-op there. I was so excited. Um, that's how I started and how I decided how am I going to get in the radio. So I thought the co-op will give me exposure to see if I really like it, which it did.
Right.
But
Yeah.
rewind a bit, which I skipped a component there. What was my plan? I
Yeah.
decided I wanted to be a DJ, right? So that's how I was
Okay.
going to get. That was my plan, right? It wasn't. I enjoyed the DJing trip. Don't get me wrong. I played for audiences that were like 22,000 people.
Wow.
So you know what I mean. Like it was. I enjoyed it, but my intent wasn't the record playing, as I'll call it. My intent
Right.
was to get radio exposure. And
Okay.
so I remember that growing up, my dad was always like, go to school, don't worry about working, go to school, I'll cover the bills and pay for everything, whatever. Then I said, Dad, I'm going to be a DJ. I want records. He goes, yeah, go to work if you want to. I'm not paying for that. I mean, good luck with that. Get off your butt. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh
so
no.
that's how I got my first job at McDonald's. It was literally just to get money for records. So I got my
Wow.
records. I learned how to play. I got into enough clubs, and I remember I was getting in young. So when I was getting my records, it was 15 years old.
Yeah.
So at 16, I started getting booked at clubs, and everyone says, do not say you're 19. Do not tell your real age. You're 21. He goes, because everyone
Right.
says they're 19. So that's the first clue that you're lying. So
Right.
he goes, I don't want anybody to know that I got a 16-year-old playing in the club.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't care. I was playing records. I was getting my dream, right?
Having
So
fun,
eventually
right?
I got onto the radio stations, and I got onto the radio stations playing at various nightclubs and stuff. And it was great. I was
Yeah.
booked 5 days a week, and I actually ended up quitting school as a result at the time. So I got made fun of, believe it or not. And
Right.
as I got made fun of, I didn't care about the students making fun of me, and I don't blame them, because I would show up to my first period religion class and I would fall asleep. not nobody knowing that I got home from DJing at 5 a.m. So,
Right. Right.
right. So eventually I was fine. Then when the teacher started making fun of me, it was one of those things. I got up and said, you know what? I make more money than you. F you. And I left. I never went
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
Well,
Oh
at
my
least
gosh,
at the
yeah.
time. Eventually, the end of the story, how did it end? I ended up getting my college degree. That was
Okay.
much later. But
Right.
again, I didn't, just like I didn't know I was going to be an entrepreneur. I didn't really get it to do what I did. I got it for a different purpose. It just led to that. And where I'm going with this, the long
Yeah.
story short, is
Mm,
that I started a marketing and print business in between. I wanted to be
okay.
a graphic designer, which is what I went to school for. I did zero
Yeah.
graphics, and I did everything about printing and marketing.
Oh,
And then
yeah,
when I
yeah.
needed graphics, I ended up hiring people for it because I just got too busy running the business.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I ended up in business, and that business ended up the first round. I had a major client and I had a major ego. I was actually
Mhm.
20 years old at that point in time, and my ego was so big that I thought I can tell a Fortune 1000 company to go screw themselves, and I didn't need them, and I thought I could just replace them like that.
Right. Yeah.
Then I got a rude awakening that
Yeah.
led to bankruptcy,
Oh my gosh.
and
Okay.
that's when got me to focus and become humble.
Yeah.
And then once I did that, I was open to learn, I was open to opportunities. I rebuilt the business with a niche platform, and that became an 8-figure a year business before I sold it.
Nice. Okay.
So, and then
Oh,
that's
that's crazy.
yeah, and then at that point in time, I did some online ventures, which went well, but I had to eventually put a stop to all of it. My parents felt ill, and I stayed home with my dad. My mom went to a retirement home. She had Alzheimer's, so it was beyond our abilities.
Oh,
And and then my dad eventually joined her there.
yeah.
And then at that point in time, I had just figure out what I needed to do. And that's how I got my realtor's license. I said, parents were landlords. I've been around real estate my whole life. Why
Right.
don't I explore that? I'm going to open houses for free. I might as well do something where I can actually earn a living doing it.
Right. Right. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that's such a cool journey. And it's funny you say that about being a little cocky at first, right? Because I think that's something like the really successful entrepreneurs I've found that seems to be a common thread. But I think in a lot of ways, it's a good thing. It serves you well because you have to believe in something where most people aren't going to. Just like you said, even my son, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm like, oh God, because it's shaky. You see it from our perspective. You just want them to be okay, right? So there
Yeah,
has to be
absolutely.
something in you that's, you
Well,
know,
that's the thing, right? Because I don't follow traditional paths. I do not like doing what other people are doing. I do not
exactly.
want to follow the herd. In fact, when somebody
Yeah.
says you're different, I say thank you. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, I even have a
Right.
like I'm going to touch upon because your son's going into school for entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
and to me, I find that mind-boggling. In all honesty, because
Oh, me too.
entrepreneurship is yeah, because you know what it is. It's like you're out there, you have an idea, and you want to bring your idea to the world and show them how your idea can help them. And
Yeah.
I've never heard of somebody reading their idea out of a book. You know what I mean? Like so.
Yes.
Again,
It
I
is weird. I'm so curious to see how so this particular program is on like their school of business, right?
yeah.
I'm curious to see how they frame it. It seems so listen, my son really would prefer probably not even to go to college, right? So I'm probably pushing. But um they do like from what they've told us, they focus a lot on like connections and community and teach you to like think outside the box, funding, all stuff. So I'm curious to see, yeah.
How
But
it goes. Yeah.
but you're right. Yeah, there is I felt like my son, okay, 18 years old, he started his own detailing business. Not 8 figures a year, but him and his friend were making more than all their friends for sure. So he just thought, I'm just gonna finish high school. I'm gonna take this thing. But as the mom, I get nervous because I'm like, well, I don't want you to be like working in the detailing. I want you to own the detailing place and you have people working for you. But yeah, I mean, I see that in him a little bit of like that cockiness, like, I don't need forget that guy. So, but it's good. It's like
Yeah.
served you well all this time.
Absolutely.
But
Now,
yeah,
for the record,
yeah,
I mean, it's good to have that educational background if you take the right
right.
components out of it. I don't think it's so much of reading the book and saying, do this for this, do that for that, as much as the whole idea, and this is where I'm going with education. The whole idea of
Yeah,
education, where it's presented as read the book, memorize the book, and reality is what you should take it as in it's trying to
right.
teach you a new skill of it's sort of teaching you how to learn, and it gives you a
Yeah.
different perspective of learning. It's something besides memorizing, and it's supposed to
Yes.
teach you to have your mind open, and teach you to learn and create networking, because it's more of who you know and less about what you know or
Mhm.
why you're doing it. I know a lot of
Right.
these gurus out there promoting the oh, you got to know why and blah 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 blah, and I'm not saying why is not important, but
Right.
your resourcefulness and your ability to build your network and connect with people is way more important, because you can figure out your why as you find your
Yeah.
passion, and you can figure out how to do it by learning from people. But
Yeah.
if you're not resourceful, you've kind of cut yourself off.
Right. And if you're not like, well, I don't know, what do you think about this? But I always say, like, you have to have a little bit of risk taking in you. Like entrepreneurship, no matter if you're in real estate or not, requires you to be comfortable with risk, which
But is it
is,
really risk? Like
I
look,
don't know. You tell me. You're
I,
the guy. So, like,
yeah,
is it?
I
That's what I'm saying. It sounds like a risk to everybody else. Is it?
because it's an
What do you
unknown.
think?
Right? Like
Right.
it's
Right.
unknown, right? It's if I do this and what if? And
Yeah.
people are going with that mentality. And people realize, let's be honest, people realize, well, if I take the traditional route, I go to school, get a good education so I can get a good job, then I'm safe and secure. Well, ask that
Mm,
to all the people who worked for some tech company till they were 55 years old and got laid off. And now they
yeah.
don't know where to go. Now ask that to
Mhm.
the same person who put all their eggs in that basket, got a major mortgage, because they had this high income, and
Yeah.
they were just told that they're going to be let go, and now they don't know how to pay their mortgage. Now,
Yeah.
I think everything is a risk. The only difference is when you work for someone else, you're getting a consistent income because you're getting it based on payroll. When
Yeah.
you work for yourself, it's up to you to go out and get it. So the risk is that if you're not putting out the work and you're not going out there and securing business, you'll go
Right.
broke a lot quicker.
Right.
That's the risk. So it's on you, and you have to get out there. That's the risk.
Yeah.
Where working
It
for somebody else, you're relying on somebody else to determine your future. There's
which I
nothing
think,
wrong with it, but you should
yeah.
always be prepared.
And with that, what I've seen is when you're working for someone else, it's easier to blame somebody else when you're not at the level you want versus when you're an entrepreneur, it's like the only person you can really blame is yourself, right?
I've got a
Because
bold statement here.
yes,
If
tell
you're going to
me.
be someone who's going to turn around and say the reason you are where you are is because he or she did something, you belong as that
Yeah.
employee, because you'll never have the grit to do beyond that. So keep your
Yes.
blaming going, keep your job going, and hope to God you never lose it. Because
Yeah.
until you learn that the fault starts with you, what you did or
Yeah.
didn't do today will determine what happens or doesn't happen for you tomorrow. And until you learn that responsibility, stay as the employee, because at least you're going to get a consistent paycheck.
Right. Okay. That's so good. You're preaching to me. You're preaching to me. Okay. So, so you started the print and market. I mean, you did a lot of stuff. Then you started the print and marketing thing. How did you go about like growing that to the place that you did, to the level you did?
Well, that's the key thing, right? Everyone gets into business, and what's their first thing? Who's your clientele? And the first answer is
Yeah.
always everyone.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was round one, and round one is how I failed. When I learned niche marketing, I said, okay, what's the major problem out there? Well, here's the major problem. And let's be honest, everyone gets into business, and what do they want? They want all the big jobs, because everybody wants to sell $1 million job, make 200 grand, because even one customer, I've made my living.
Right.
And
Right.
reality is everyone focuses that. And that's where everyone is. And that's where you go, what I call in the red water.
Right.
Right. And it's because you're going where everybody is, and you have thousands of competitions. Now,
Yeah.
in the industry I was in, what did nobody want? The small jobs, because who the heck wants to make 50, 60 bucks at a time?
Right.
Right? Nobody thinks
Honest.
of the fact that I had 1,500 clients a week. 1,500 clients a week at an average order of, we'll say, $250 a piece. Let's do the math. And that's when I started to grow. I think at one point I might have got bigger than that.
Wow.
So my point
Yeah.
I'm getting at is because, yes, it was $50 orders. Yes, it was whatever. But nobody orders one thing. They order multiple things.
Right.
Right. So how did I get that? I found that niche. And what was my niche? Wholesaling. And what I mean by that is printers, the guys who have the big printing presses.
Yeah.
Well, those printing presses, the leases are $100,000 a month on some of them.
Oh my God.
And who the heck wants to print a business card for $150 when you have
Yeah.
that kind of payment?
Yeah.
And to turn on that press, it's going to cost you $1,000 just to turn on the press, get the people in there, set it up, turn it on, the electricity for the day, and all that stuff, right? So it's going to cost you $1,000 just to turn it on. Do you really want a $150 order? Now, here's the other problem. You get a customer, just say like Apple or Walmart, and they say, yeah, we need business cards. Oh, that's too small for me. I don't really want that. But give me your catalog for that pays $20,000 a month.
Oh my God.
Nobody's
Yeah.
going to do that, right? So people do, that's what they call the loss leader. So I said, why does it have to be a loss leader? The issue is they can't print one single small business card. But what they can do is print these big sheets. Well, how many business cards fit on those big sheets? 60 of them. So what if I went to all the printers, all the advertising agencies, all the marketing agencies, and I said, I'll do your small orders. $50 a business card, 60 per sheet, that's 3,000. The cost to print that sheet was $1,450. So that's $1,550 profit. Do 25 of them a week. What's that work out to be?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
So
it's a lot. Yeah.
But that's my point, right? But
Yeah.
people don't think you can grow that big because you're thinking small. You're thinking narrow,
Right.
one side. Oh, how many people are in Toronto? Well, who says I
Yeah.
have to be out of Toronto, especially today? Especially, look, I mean, I did this, what was it, 2002, 2003, 2000, all the way to 2007. So my point I'm
Yeah.
getting at is in that era, shipping was still possible. I had
Yeah.
customers in the United States, in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I had customers in Vancouver that would order, and they told me I was the rush printer.
Oh,
It takes me 24 hours of shipping,
yeah.
maybe more. How am I the rush printer? Because apparently it takes 7 days to get something there, and I was getting it to them within 3.
Oh, gosh.
Right? So you're finding a niche thing where you can do something that the guys with the big presses can't do.
Right.
Now, how about these big marketing campaigns that do these big websites? Well, what is a pain in the ass? I got little adjustments where they're like, well, they're now in big projects. Do they want to go back to something and fix a little thing online?
Yeah.
No. Hey,
Yeah.
$150, I'll have it done for you tomorrow morning. Done.
And that's easy money. Yeah.
But
It's
you know what I
also
mean?
like less stress. I feel like when I do, like on my marketing side of my business, smaller clients are usually easier in some, like a lot of social media managers will be like, I don't do anything under $1,500 a month. And I was like, I'll do someone $600-700 a month. It's templates. I'll just throw it up there. They're the easier client. Their expectations are a little bit, lower, and you just make it up in volume. So, okay. So I love what you said about niche marketing because that actually translates really well to real estate, in my opinion, like from a
100%.
marketing perspective, right? So once you, sold that business, kind of dealt with your family stuff, or whatever, and then dived into real estate or mortgage, how did you use those same principles in the real estate world now?
Okay, I'm gonna blow everybody away here. I don't have any direct clients.
Yeah.
And someone watching this going, real estate, you're a real estate agent with no direct clients. What's that mean? 70% of my business is agent to agent referral. 30% of my business is investors. And what I mean, okay, the investors are direct clients. What I mean is they're not buying individual houses. They're buying rental properties. And most of them are buying, 4 or 5 at a time.
Right.
So I've so even though I've sold single family homes, and if you see all the contracts, well, yeah, there's an individual here. Yeah, but they didn't call me. They called Bob Smith. Bob Smith, it was out of their area, so they sent it to me. So this is not really my client. When they go to resell, well, they'll go to resell. They'll probably call me because of the area. But if they're going to buy back in the old area, they're calling Bob. They're not calling me. Right. So again, in a way, I use that wholesaling and translate it into real estate. Because it's kind of the same thing. Because what does investors do? Multiple properties, and what are they buying it at the right price, which is really wholesaling.
Right. Yeah. And so how did you I definitely want to touch on that referral piece, but as far as like the investors of wholesale, so do you like actively market yourself or do you more like attract the business now through like your podcast stuff you're putting out there? Like kind of what's your
Both.
marketing plan?
Both. What
Okay.
happened was I got out there because the idea here, the whole point of podcasting and social media, I think people have a
Right.
big misconception of what this is. People in the beginning, and I was guilty of it in the beginning, use social media as a billboard. It's not a billboard.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
in the name, social, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now in podcasting, it's the same thing. Everyone asks me, "What's the ROI?" My answer is always the same: zero. What? What
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
mean? Why do you do it? Because I'm getting known, and I'm not getting known like I mean the celebrity of the area. I mean, to a degree, that's what I'm trying to do, but I'm
Right.
very focused. And what happens is it's gotten to the point that I've been so consistent out there and done so much that I go to grocery stores and people pop up and ask me questions. So usually,
Right.
hey, I got a rental unit here and I got this and that. What do you think? I'm like, I think my tomatoes are getting becoming rotten here. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I don't mind talking. I'm just being funny about it. But the thing is that,
Yeah.
but that's the thing. I can go to a local coffee shop. I would be there with my laptop. I'll be watching a YouTube video while I'm drinking my coffee and eating my bagel or whatever. Somebody approaches
Yeah.
me and says, "Hey, do you know anybody who does short-term rentals?" This is a true story. He goes, "I bought a place around the corner from here, and we were supposed to be done by January. My place closed in December, so I had a place for a month, but now we're running out of places, and it got delayed till May or June. So I need a place for 5-6 months." So you're
Yeah.
thinking, why is this guy approaching me? Clearly, he saw me online, so he
Yeah.
recognized my face and he knew what I did. He knows I'm in the real estate business, so he approached me, figuring because I'm in the industry and I'm sitting in the coffee shop that's in the same area where he bought, he figured I would have an answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my point is, that's the point of doing it. Your face becomes
Yes.
recognized. People know you, and they know your service. And so you don't have to be a billboard, and you don't have to have the same message and saying, "Hey, I'm a realtor. Buy, buy, buy. Sell, sell, sell with me. Look at me. I can sell all these homes. Hey, this home sells for 1.2. There's never a bad time to be in real estate." You know, the same old bullshit
Yeah.
sentences that everybody uses, right?
Marry the
Look,
house, date the rate. Like,
yeah. Like,
I
hey,
mean, yeah.
just
Yeah.
listed. Look at my just listed. Guess what?
Yeah.
Go through my profile and you won't
Right.
see one damn real estate thing that I've
Yeah.
done, like no listings or whatever, and
Yeah.
over a year. And I'm telling you, if I went over a year without an income, I'd have
Yeah.
real problems.
Right.
So,
Right.
so obviously I sold. I just don't promote it because I don't
Right.
have to. I mean, based on what we're talking about now, what business am I in? You already know that mostly in the real estate business.
Yeah.
I don't really
Yeah.
need to, I don't need a billboard for that.
Yeah. Well, and I think sometimes with that kind of stuff, like it's twofold. Like one, it positions you as like this robot that does real estate, and then when you do that, you're easily replaceable by the next robot that does real estate, right? Instead of I'm Sarah and I say coffee like this, and I tend to do stuff for humor or whatever. Oh, and by the way, I sell real estate. Then you're not as replaceable because they're connecting with the person versus
That's
the
exactly
tool
it.
or whatever,
Because look,
right?
why do you deal, like anybody watching who's used a realtor? Why did you choose that realtor? Most likely, I mean, forget the fact whether it was a good or bad experience. When
Right.
you chose that realtor, you probably liked them, knew
Yeah,
them, and trusted them.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's when, so the point of all this is to get you an insight of who I am. So you can decide if you want to know, like, and trust me. Now you may
Yeah.
look at this and say, this guy is wearing t-shirts. What kind of a businessman this is? He's talking about this. He's talking about rotten tomatoes. I mean, this guy's a
Yeah.
jerk. I don't want to ever talk to him. That's okay
Yeah.
too. Because guess what? You're
Right.
saving my time as well, because now we're not wasting time. I'm not trying to tell you what I can do, and you're sitting there listening, going, "Really? When's the guy going
Yeah.
to start talking?" You know,
Yeah.
like, and at the same time, so I'm not boring you, and I'm
Right.
not taking time away from customers who want to deal with me to answer
Exactly.
questions you don't want to hear about.
And then the transactions become that much easier. Like once you start doing business with people who you naturally connect with, it's a much more enjoy. That doesn't mean nothing crazy is going to happen, but the process doesn't feel as forced. That's what I found. I mean, I kind of niched into um, like New Yorkers who live in Charlotte or moving here, whatever. It becomes so much easier. There's an automatic connection. And then throughout the process, we're like, hey girl, don't be going there for pizza because that's some fake pizza. We're just something that everyone's going to get. So I love that aspect of like marketing your business and social media and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
But I have a big question for you. I'm sorry. Did I say what you need to say? I think I cut you off. Go.
No, no, not at all. Don't worry. It's all I was gonna say is that like a key component here is also
Yeah.
is that when you're working an area or you're working as an agent, you should not try to be everything for everybody. It goes back to niching down. There's too
Yeah.
many times I've seen people out there and going, "Oh, I don't go 1 foot past wherever city," and then all of a
Yes.
sudden you're in a different city and they're calling you, goes, "Oh yeah, I'm in your area. Want to go for a coffee? Oh,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
visiting? No, I'm showing a client a house there." Like, buddy, that's an hour and a half away from where you are. Why would you do that? You don't know the area. The point is that you should be embedded in your community. And that's where,
Yeah.
wherever you're embedded in and whatever you know, and you don't need Google to tell you where everything is, then you become
Yes.
a service to your client. Think service to your client first, the money will follow. You don't need to worry about that because people want to be, again, it goes back to that trust factor. Now, where the
Yeah.
benefit is with the community I'm talking about, if you're embedded in the community, you're going to know all the local shops. So not only do you become so aware of everything around, so you can showcase the community
Mhm.
and don't just sell the house. You can showcase the community and sell people on the area. I sold
Yeah.
somewhere in an area where a person didn't know anything about it. They just knew they wanted to move away from where they were, and they were trying to decide between two places. Well,
Yeah.
I showed them, it's a place called Grimsby. I showed them Grimsby. I didn't just show them the house. Yeah, we found the house that they liked, and they looked at the house, but I wanted to put the area to rest because that's what they were nervous about. So what do we look
Yeah.
at? I showed them where the local beaches, the local restaurants, the local cafes. I showed them where the community center was for the kids. I showed them where the schools were. I showed them the different schools, whether it's Catholic, public, French, immersion. You know what I mean? I showed them
Yeah.
the whole community, and I got to know that community. So they got to really feel the community. And then they decided whether the house was right. Because if it was based on the
Yeah.
house, it's great. But you're going to move an hour away from where you are now to try a new community and you don't know where you're moving to. No,
Yes.
you're going to go to a place that you're going to fall in love with the area. Then you
Yeah.
fall in love with the house. So if you know the community and you can answer those questions and you don't have to sit there and look for people's reviews to figure it out, then you can present
Yeah.
things
Like,
honestly. And when you're presenting it honestly, you become genuine and you have that client connection. So you get that client's trust. And not only that, you get everybody that they want to refer to you's trust.
yeah. And it's something different, like, especially in I'm in Charlotte now. It's a lot of people relocating here. And I always tell people, like, you're just putting pictures of the house, you're missing a big piece to stand out. Cause I know, like, when I was moving here, I was trying to look for YouTube videos of what are certain areas. Like, you're never really looking for videos of what actually the block that the house is on. You're like, where's, like, to me, I'm like, where's the nearest Target and Starbucks? Because if it ain't there, I ain't moving. Like, little things like that.
Yeah,
What does the school look like? Can I walk? Can I do this? Like, is it diverse? All
absolutely.
these things people can answer instead of just listed at 123 Main Street.
Right. And
Like,
remember, the house can be changed. The location
exactly.
cannot. I mean, let's
Yeah.
be honest. I mean, it's expensive, but worst case scenario, if you really wanted to, you can knock down the house you bought, say, I hate it, and rebuild it the way you want to rebuild it. Now, I don't
Right.
suggest that, but the point is that it's a possibility. But if you
Right.
love the house you're in and you hate where you live, you're not going to exactly get a tow truck and move it.
Yeah.
It's not going to
Yeah.
work.
No. No. It's so true. Okay. So here's my big, and I'm curious to know what you think about this. So, one thing that I've noticed in real estate is that there's a lot of really successful agents, right? They close a lot of business. They're probably making a lot of GCI every year, right? I'm talking $300,000, $400,000 or more. But I've seen so many that haven't created a business. They've created a job, right? So they still have to, like, run out on showings, and if they don't have the right team around them, they're not going to gain business. So, like, what is the difference, and what can agents change to start treating it as a business versus a job?
Well, first thing starts with mindset. The ones that are running around and everything that you talked about, they have what
Yeah.
we call the scarcity mindset. They are so worried about anybody knowing what they're doing and who they're working with that they see it as you're going to take their business somehow. And there's now nobody could do it better than me. Which the
Yeah.
truth of the matter is, I'm going to tell you a little secret. Your clients don't care.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
calling you because they trust you. But if you said Bob from the office is going to show you
Yeah.
because of whatever reason, and this is what I'm doing, they don't care who opens the door. At the end of the
Exactly.
day, they're coming to you because they trust that you're steering them in the right direction. But
Right.
anybody can open up a door.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, a high school kid can open up a door, not legally, but I'm making a
Yeah. Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I wouldn't focus on that, and so at the same time, so there's scarcity mindset, and that scarcity mindset leads to scarcity in terms of choices. Now,
Mhm.
prime example, I will get a CRM when I have X amount of clients and X amount of income. So, because right now that might be $80 a month, and I don't want to pay it because we got all these fees to pay, and unless I get another job, and why would I get a job if I just build my business? Well, the
Right.
problem is with that attitude, you'll never build a business because you're blocking yourself. And I'm not just saying
Yeah.
you're blocking yourself because you're not going to get a CRM. That
Yeah.
mentality carries you all the way through. So everything you should do, you're going to take a shortcut there because you're scared.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't want to spend money. I mean, I haven't been in a lot of other entrepreneurial industries. This is it. But like the fear of spending money with real estate agents, I feel like I don't want to use the word cheap, but you know what I mean? I get it. We're self-employed. You don't know what the market's going to do. But I'm like, there's so many people who won't scale, use like proven tools to help you scale. And they don't want to because they don't want to spend the $600 a month, $700 a month. And
But
I'm
it
like,
doesn't it doesn't even
spend,
have to be that expensive. Now I'm going to give you a
yeah,
sample, right? I'm
yeah,
going to like anybody watching this. I mean, I'm obviously not going to see you, but raise your hand
yeah,
if you've had a challenging year for the last 2 years.
yeah,
And I'm going to
yeah,
tell you, I have not.
yeah,
I was busy. And the difference is what I'm talking about here, because you're going to say, oh, well, the market's down. People aren't selling, blah, blah, blah. So you mean there's zero homes for sale? Well, no, it's only 50% of what it was. Okay, so look at Ontario. We had 122,000 transactions in 2021. 2022, 2023, it got reduced. 2023, I think, was 69,000. So for all intents and purposes, say that's exactly half. We know it's
right,
not, but I'm making a point.
yeah,
So that means there were still 69,000 transactions. It just means they
yeah,
didn't call you,
right,
but it still existed. So maybe not everybody got a transaction, and it is slower for other people. So the question is now, the transactions or the listings landing on your lap are gone. So you got to work for it. And when you
yeah,
got to work for it, if you implement the systems that I'm talking about through a CRM where you remain in constant contact with people, then they remember you. How many
yeah,
times did you meet somebody and say, hey, if I ever look for that, I'm going to remember this person and call them? And then all of a sudden, oh, I need a roofer. Who was that guy? I don't remember.
yeah.
And that happens to realtors too. Even if
I'm sure.
they bought something with you, it's been 5, 6, 7 years. It goes, I used the guy. I used to know him. Oh, what was his name? What was his name? And then that happens, right? So,
Right.
but it doesn't happen to the people who are in constant contact. And in fact,
Yeah.
many times people are lulling over ideas. And when they're
Yeah.
lulling over the ideas and you're on the phone, all of a sudden, hey, funny enough, you called. I was thinking about, now they want your opinion. And
Yeah.
now with your opinion, they're going to decide if they want to proceed or not. And sometimes you're going to talk to them. They're going to say, oh, I'm glad we talked. I was thinking about selling, but I decided not to. I mean, don't feel bad because it sounds like you talked them out of it. But reality is you might have talked them out of it because that was the best decision for them and
Yeah.
they didn't realize it, right? So you got to do the right thing. Now, mortgages, interest rates went up. I think, what is that, 7% at one point, 7
Yeah.
or 8%?
Yep.
People are going to be terrified. Why the hell would they want to look for a new place at 7 or 8% or sell their place where they're locked in for 3% so they can go buy a new place at 7%? They're freaking terrified,
Yeah.
right? So why not be the bigger person? Give them
Yeah.
a call and say, hey, I know how the market's gone. You must be a little worried. I just called to check in on you. Is there anything you need? Anything I can help you with? Hey, you know what? Maybe I'm not moving right now because of obvious reasons. So the pool you didn't build in the backyard, now you may want to build. So I thought maybe I can, be a resource. If you need a pool, a plumber, or whatever, I know a few people I can refer to you and help you get that stuff done. In case you were thinking of
Right.
that in light of not being able to move. Great. You didn't
Right.
get the business today, but what did you set up? You set up the fact that A, you care,
Mm-hmm.
B, that you're the resource, so they don't need to have their own resources because they're
Yeah.
going to just call you. So
Yeah.
anytime they need something involved in real estate, your name comes up. So now you ensure that they don't forget you,
Yeah.
and you're always top of mind. Now, 5 years down the road, markets are have changed, interest rates have come down, or house prices have come down, whichever one it is. Now all of a sudden you're saying, okay, this is more viable. And yeah, I installed the pool when John gave me the list, but you know what? My kids don't use it anymore. They're off to college, and this house is too big. Let's go, John. It's time to move. You secured a
Right.
future client.
Yeah, and sometimes also when you call them at that time and you come from the position of like just like speaking to exactly what you said, like their fears, whatever's going on in the market, and you come from a position of like not trying, you know how many in these Facebook groups we've seen like my client is 3%, but rates are 7. Like, how can I overcome this objection? I'm like, you don't always have to overcome. Sometimes it makes sense. But if you come from that position, like you said, offering as a resource, sometimes you may not get that person's business that day, right? Like you're planting that seed, but they may know of someone, hey, now that you call me, I was just thinking my daughter's been thinking of buying, or my coworker. And you can start bringing more people into your funnel like that too.
Exactly. And again, I don't like the word objection handling in the
Yeah,
way
yeah,
that people are using objection handling as a way
yeah,
to convince somebody to do something. You're not going to
exactly.
convince anybody.
That's not always a good idea. Like that's the thing. It's just like you said, those like age old lines, like, oh, it's a good time to buy. It can't always be a good time to buy. I mean, not for everybody anyway, right? So
Exactly.
when you come with that constantly, you lose trust. I don't want to say you lose trust, but maybe you don't build trust because they're like, this fool. They always say it's a good time to buy, and yeah.
Exactly.
It's a hard
And
business.
another way to build business here. Think of it,
Yeah.
right? Because we know the common thing is the market has changed, things have developed, and people are scared.
Yeah.
So I've created what I call the annual state of the market event. I do it
Mhm.
every year in the fall.
Oh, that's cool.
And I do that because I invite all my past clients, all my potential clients, and all the people that see me online to either virtually attend it through StreamYard or whatever, because I got cameras
Yeah.
recording me, or to
Right.
show up at the office and attend it in person, which the benefit of that is I've got appetizers like chicken wings, pizza, whatever.
Right.
I've got some pop, some wine, some cheese,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, stuff like that. So you can have a little
Yeah.
munchies and watch the presentation. Then we'll have a couple realtors there talking about it, a couple investors that'll
Yeah.
talk about it, their journey in the investing and how the market's out changed from them. We'll have a couple mortgage
Right.
people. We'll have a home inspector. We'll have lawyers. We'll have everybody in the industry of some sort give a little presentation of what they're experiencing in the market and how it's changed for them and how they have dealt with it. Then I'll give up a little bit of a presentation of what's been going on through my eyes and with some statistics and stuff. And then we just network and talk to each other before we close out.
Oh,
And again,
that's genius.
yeah,
And it gives them a way to kinda, like, keep on track of their equity without necessarily assuming they're going to be making a move, right? Because they should be interested in between moves. That's a nice way to connect. I love that idea. Okay, so since you've built, like, a business outside of real estate, but then you've also built this, lucrative real estate business, like, what do you think is the number one reason so many real estate agents get in and almost immediately get out? Like why do you think the failure rate's so high?
well, most of them get in for the wrong reason. And here's what I
Right,
mean. You get your neighbor that comes out who, you went to school with him or her, and they were somewhat always behind on the ball, never really getting ahead. Then all of a
right,
sudden, you see them. Oh, now they got a BMW, and now they got the Gucci bag or whatever. They
right.
fancy clothing, fancy car, fancy everything. Always on vacation. You're going, shit. I'm still doing everything the same. I'm getting laid off. What the heck do I do with myself? Well, if that person
Right,
has a BMW, I'm going to go get a BMW. But I can't just
right.
get it because my job's not going to pay for it and I'm losing it. So what do?
Yeah,
They get their license thinking, I'm going to get a license and all my friends are going to buy from me. And then I'm going to make a killing and that's going to pay for my BMW. I can't afford it today, but I will lease it now because it's $499 a month. And then I will get paid and I'll pay it off and buy it out then, or I'll write it off.
yeah, yeah.
And what happens? 3 months into the business, their friend, their
Yeah.
so-called bestie, guess what? I bought a house. You're
Oh,
looking for a house? No, I bought a house. You didn't call me. "Huh, we're not friends
Yeah.
anymore." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and then and they take it personal,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And then what happens is they're pissed off. People aren't using them. They haven't put in the work yet. They
Yeah.
haven't figured out that they need to put in the work. And let's be honest, your friend knows that you haven't done a deal yet, and they may not trust you. It's
Right.
the biggest purchase. It may not be that. It might be your friend might have gotten engaged and they're buying a home to move in once they get married,
Right.
and the partner might have somebody, their friend that they want to use, and sometimes that's just not an argument worth having.
Or
So they go
sometimes they don't wanna mix
business
business
and
with
pleasure.
pleasure, you know?
They don't want you to know their finances. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
and
whatever it is, there's many, many different reasons.
right.
Sometimes the mother or father is putting in the money and they don't
Yeah.
want you to know that. And plus, the mother and father want to use their agent because they trust them and figuring if I'm putting in the money, I want to at least know who's showing you this stuff. So then this way you're going to get the right thing.
Right, right. Yeah,
And what are you
there's
going to say?
so
No,
many
I don't want
reasons.
it. Parents say, I'm not going to give you the money then. What are you going to do? Okay, well, rent? No,
Yeah, yeah.
they're going to just do it. Right.
Yeah,
So
of
you never
course.
know the circumstance, but people take it personal. And after 3 to 6 months of doing zero sales, which is 90% of the agents out there,
Yeah. Yeah.
then out of that 90% that did that, 50% want out.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like what is the mark do you think like when someone gets licensed, what do you think that they should where should they focus first, I should say? What do you think?
Okay, I'm going to be a bit contradictory here because of considering what I said.
Yeah, yeah.
But first thing you should do is let everyone you know what you do. Because I
Right.
gave you an example of how some people don't know. Now, some people are sitting on the sideline, right? Because remember, nobody's sitting around going, "Oh, I got to buy a house." Oh, but one of my friends might get their license. I'll just sit here and wait until they do,
Yeah.
right? So that doesn't happen. And sometimes you're letting them know, and they may not need you right now. 2 years
Yeah.
from now, they're watching what you're doing, then they're going to call you,
Yeah.
right? So the first thing they should do is get a CRM, even if it's a free one that comes with the brokerage. That's
Mhm.
fine, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't matter where you start, just start,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And put everybody you know into that CRM, but don't just put them in there with the email and they all of a sudden they start getting these random emails from you that they never got. Have a
Mhm.
conversation with them and say, "Hey, I got my realtor's license and I'm not here to sell you anything. I just wanted to let you know. I mean, we haven't talked in a while. Wanted to catch up and let you know what I'm doing. I got my realtor's license. I'm excited about my career. And now I have access to all the listings. And I thought it was a great thing. And I thought, you know what, we've talked before and you showed interest in real estate. And again, I want to remind you, I'm not here to show you, sell you anything. But I
Yeah.
thought, hey, would you be interested in being on my list and getting updates about the market of homes in your area? So at least you know what's going on with your area and your home evaluation and stuff like that. So you can get a just of idea of the market and you don't have to go searching for it because I'm just going to send it to your email once a
Right.
month and you'll get a state of the market update every month from me at no
Mhm.
cost and no, you know what I mean? And then hey, I figure if you find everything useful, that's great. And if you don't like it,
Yeah.
then guess what? We can always unsubscribe. There's no harm, no foul. I'm not offended.
Yeah.
Right. Or, and then 50% of the people will say, yeah, sure. So you got half the people in your email database just from people you know, like, and trust and all that already. And then,
Yeah.
you know what? You got a service provider. You got a hairdresser, go to a hairdresser and say, hey, I'm in the real estate market. Go, just wanted to let you know that, I'm here. And I figured that I'm just letting everybody know what I do. And if you come across anybody, would you mind if I left a couple of cards on your counter?
Yeah.
They may say yes or no. They may just take it and say, I'll just give it to people when they, what I mean? And that's fine. Either way, you're getting the word out there. Another thing
Right.
is, yeah, so that's the thing, right? So you're just getting yourself known out there. I would build a professional business page online, make sure it's
Mhm.
all consistent, right? Like, and
Yes.
one of the trends out there, prime example, first day in the business, they get their license, and you can't just be Sarah Hilton, realtor.
Yeah.
What do people do? Hilton Homes Realty. And I'm like, but you're not the brokerage. But
Yeah,
somehow
yeah.
they think by labeling that,
Yeah.
people are gonna know. You don't
Yeah.
need to do that. You don't need to do that at all. I mean, I'm not saying don't. If you want to do it and you're so adamant, go ahead. But
Yeah,
that's gonna
yeah.
get you zero business. In fact, it might confuse people.
Right. Right. And
Right?
just I think I've seen, agents get licensed and myself included when I first got licensed, you spend so much time like trying to set up like the pretty side and what should my Facebook page look like? And it's just a matter of like just start closing deals, just start getting your name out to
Yeah.
everybody. and stop thinking about
Exactly.
it.
Create
Yeah,
something. It doesn't have to look like okay, I agree. Don't make it look like a dog's breakfast, but at the
right.
same time, if it
Yeah,
works and it's got the information there and it's okay, good
right.
enough. It's more
Yeah,
important that you get the message out there. The key thing in this business is meeting people. You got to
yeah,
find ways of meeting new people
it's
and
true.
realizing that the business may not come for 9 months, may not come for a year or two, but you
Yeah,
just want your name to be remembered when they think of
yeah,
selling.
yeah. I love that. Okay. So, what are like some tweaks? Let's say a agent is doing well, they're pretty much meeting their goals and stuff. Like, what's a simple tweak that you think people can make to get themselves to that next level where, you know, they're like really, they're getting maybe from making just breaking that 6 figures, 200,000 to really like killing it and running like a well-oiled business.
Great. How many is well, do you have an assistant?
Thank you. I do.
Yeah, because
But
you need
yeah,
an assistant. Because if
yeah,
not, if you're entering stuff into the computer and you're
yeah,
trying to do admin work and you're creating your own newsletters, you're wasting your time.
right.
Because reality is, again, I said that we're in a people business. So
Yeah,
you make your money by being in front of people. And if you're writing newsletters and sending them out, you're not in front of people.
right.
And at the end of the day, this is the analogy I was taught by my brokerage. And at the time when somebody said this to me, I go, yeah, 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 yeah. That's easy. You guys got millions of dollars. You can do that. I mean, we're starting out, don't have that kind of money. Now
Right.
I understand. And here's what I mean. If you're doing a job, you got to figure out how much money do you make? What's the average hours you spend on selling a home? And then take the commission rate and divide it amongst those hours. Now I'm going to use a bogus number. Pretend that a person makes 10 grand a sale,
Right.
as an example,
Right.
and it takes them, we'll say, 50 hours to do that sale.
Yeah.
So do the math on that. That's about about oh crap, I don't even remember. I lost the track of the
50
time.
hours for $10,000, but I suck at math. So
Yeah, so 10 hours would be 500, 50 at $10 would be 500, 100 would be 5,000. So anyways, the moral of the story is
20. There we go.
we'll
Yeah.
say 20,
Okay.
right? Just say
Oh,
it takes
yeah.
just say for example, you end up making better example. Just say you're making you take the average and say it works out to be $300 an hour. I'm making it up.
Right.
Obviously, my math isn't working. I used to know the number. I used this example before, but anyways, so I digress here. Just
Yeah.
say it works out to be $300 an hour. Now, if you're
Right.
doing a job that you can pay your assistant $25 an hour, you're not saving $25. You're losing $275.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if you go out there in front of people and you get an extra sale, you just got $300 an hour, but you're not doing it, saving
Right.
the $25 creating that newsletter.
And that goes you're speaking exactly to what I mean when I see people like not scaling their business, and I'm like, if you just added an assistant here, you're looking at it at the 15 $20 an hour range instead of, if this brings me an extra commission every month, why would you step over a dollar or pick up a dime? It's so crazy when you think about it, but there's such a pushback, I mean,
Exactly.
I do marketing mostly now, and when I have one of my clients, she closes probably 30 million a year. During 2022, it got a little shaky, and she was like, I think I'm gonna have, how can we cut our marketing package in half? And I was like, you can, um but everyone is pulling back now. And I'm like, I'm not saying this is because you're paying me. I'm telling you that all these agents, they're scared to spend money. Everyone's pulling back now, when what you should be doing, if I were you, is
Doubling down.
going, I'm going to keep going full force, because when things start to, pop off again, for lack of a better term, now I've put in all this work, whereas everyone has lost their momentum. And, luckily she listened to me and she stayed, and she went back to closing that amount of deals. You know what I mean? So yes, I love that you said that. That would, I mean, I'm not a serial entrepreneur, but that's what I would say too. So, all right, cool. So tell us a little bit about your podcast, the John Papaloni Show. Did I say your name?
You did.
Okay.
John Papaloni Show. It's exactly
Okay.
it.
So
So
tell us about it and all that.
yeah, absolutely. It's kind of a combination. I originally started obviously talking all about real estate this, real estate that. Then
Right.
I kind of figured that it's kind of boring just to be talking about that all the time.
Right. Right.
And so I had to figure out, what do I do now?
Yeah.
How do I do that? And anyway, so I started expanding it and then just interviewing entrepreneurs and all that. So then it became about entrepreneurship and real estate.
Okay.
And
Cool.
over time, as I start expanding my thing, I added mortgages. I'm doing my coaching, my personal development, right? So
Yeah.
my whole business there, like that part of the business, is really about personal development, coaching, and building not just real estate business, but I can help anybody's business. I mean, anybody's in
Right.
my circle of whatever that I focus on, right? But
Yeah.
the point I'm getting at is the fact that so I'm bringing in some passion into this.
Yeah.
And so now I'm evolving to be more of, I call it entrepreneurship, leadership, personal development, and investing.
Okay. Cool.
Right.
Yep.
So as you saw, you can see it's evolving.
Yeah.
So I mean, so a lot of my episodes now are a mixture of interviewing different entrepreneurs, different leaders in the industry and out there. Sometimes I even have certain things to help people build systems, and I talk about that, or personal development stuff, right? So you can build a better you. I have a lot of motivational things. I have what I call Minute Mondays, which is really just a minute about something you can do in your life just to better yourself each week, or what excuses to avoid, or stuff like that. And
Right.
and then that's Monday. So Minute Mondays, I have my Tuesday and Wednesday, I release a podcast. Most times I try to be one entrepreneur, one real estate. So I kind of mix it up, but sometimes I
Right.
go off that, but I never miss a beat. And the way that I'm never not producing Tuesday or Wednesday. Just sometimes you'll get two real estate shows in a row, or two business shows
Right.
in a row. So sometimes I mix that. But those are my 3 days. I'm probably going to get back into what I call my Q&A, which I used to
Yeah.
do twice a month. And it used to be about real estate Q&A. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to do it twice a month as well. But I'm going to do one is going to be general Q&A to help general business, like general business or personal development, and one real estate Q&A
Oh
per
my
month.
gosh. That's a
So
lot. I know that 3 podcasts a week is a lot of work.
yeah, well, I'm not going to lie. I do a lot more than I'm thinking. I mean, between that and those
Yeah.
shows that I'm on,
Yeah.
I'm recording about 7 or 8 a week.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a lot of work, but it's obviously paying off. So, okay, so go look that up, the John Papaloni Show. And then, John, so where do you see yourself in 10 years?
In Bermuda, sipping margaritas while I spend my customers' money, just like they accuse me. No, I'm just kidding.
I already know how
No,
that goes.
um,
Yeah.
where I really
Oh,
see myself, honestly, is like I see myself. Look, I'm working towards in 10 years. I would say that I'm gonna have a lot more investments. I'm working more
yeah,
towards the investment side, and
right,
building generational wealth, or really passive income. It's not always passive
right.
as it sounds, but as close to
Yeah.
passive as you can actually get. I want
Mm,
my business to be self-sustaining, where I overlook it and less being in it, if that makes sense. And then
yeah.
my
Right.
personal development thing, I'm going to be speaking on stages. I'm creating events and conferences for people to show up at. These
I
are my
love
long-term goals. Like
I
there's
love
been a lot of conferences out there. Like everyone's heard of 10x Growth Con, or
Yeah.
the Wealthy Way. I mean, eventually I want to have my own, or
Yeah,
speaking on
yeah.
their stages, whichever one.
Right. No, I love that. I love that. All right, cool. So everyone should be able to connect with you. Well, on Instagram, he's at John Papaloni. But they can go to justaskip.com, right?
Just ask jp.com.
Oh, I was like, okay, it
Well,
is
yeah,
just
because
as JP. That
yeah,
makes way more sense. I was just gonna be like, what's justaskip.com? Okay.
yeah, it's just
The
ask JP, because
URL is under
it's really just ask John, but the just
yeah,
ask John URL was .ca, and I didn't really
ticket.
want a
Okay.
.ca, so I
That
went to
makes a
JP
lot
because it's
more
my name.
okay. Makes a lot more sense. Sorry, the URL gets underlined, and so the J anyway.
Yeah, it
Okay, just
happens.
as jp.com. That makes a lot more sense. Go connect with John. You'll get a lot of real estate information, but also if you want some business, I guess, business and leadership and entrepreneurship coaching, obviously he knows what he's talking about. And then that's it. Hey, I'm gonna run you through a quick rapid fire question. You ready?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
That's my boy. Summer or winter?
Summer.
I probably know the answer to this, but Netflix or podcasts?
Podcasts.
Okay. And then let's say, what's your favorite trash food guilty pleasure?
Ooh, trash food. Favorite trash food. Oh, that one's hard. Um, it's
I just came up with that. So,
I would say nachos.
oh, nachos are
I had
so
to
good.
think about that because I haven't had it in a while, and it's like I used
Oh,
used to be my go-to.
they're the best at like trashy kids sporting events or like theme parks with that fake cheese.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, those are the best. Oh my gosh. Now I want nachos. Okay. Well, thanks so much again for coming on. Go find John just as JP or on Instagram at John Papaloni. And John, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
All right. I'll see you soon. Bye. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Real Estate Coffee Talk. If you enjoyed it, please take a moment to subscribe and leave us a review. It really helps. If you'd like to be featured on the show, you can get that information right in the show notes. Be sure to tune in next week for another new episode. And until then, keep your dreams big and your mugs full. See you next week.